Centuries ago, there was a quiet village nestled at the foot of the mountains. Life there was simple, built on hard work and honesty. Among the villagers lived two close friends, David and Ethan. Every day they toiled under the sun, sometimes plowing fields, sometimes breaking stones, always returning home exhausted but content. One day, a strange rumor spread across the village. Far away, there was a mysterious place people called the City of One Price. They said that in this city, everything, cheap or priceless, cost the same, just one single coin. The thought shook David and Ethan. If that's true, they whispered, we could save enough to never work another day. Greed and curiosity burned inside them. But before leaving, they went to seek advice from the village elder, old Thomas. His face grew pale at the mention of that city. With a trembling voice, he warned, "Don't go there, my sons. That city is cursed. Whoever enters never returns alive." But David and Ethan only looked at each other and said, "We've harmed no one. Why would harm come to us? What's wrong with testing our fate?" Ignoring the elder's warning, they set out at dawn. For 2 long days, they crossed treacherous cliffs, rocky valleys, and dark forests. Exhausted yet hopeful, on the 3rd day, they reached the towering gates of the City of One Price. At the entrance sat a weary old man. They greeted him politely and asked, "Father, what are the rules here? How does life in this city work?" The old man sighed deeply and replied, "Do as you wish here, but beware. Every step has a cost. In this city, the thief and the honest man receive the same punishment. Walk carefully, or you'll regret it." A shiver ran through their bodies, but curiosity and greed drowned out fear. They decided to enter, and what a sight awaited them. The streets glittered with lights, markets overflowed with colorful clothes and treasures, laughter and music filled the air. To David and Ethan, poor mountain men, it felt like stepping into paradise. Hungry and tired, they entered a grand inn. The aroma of spiced meat made their stomachs growl. David asked the innkeeper, "Brother, how much for the meat?" The innkeeper smiled. 2 legs of meat for 1 coin." David and Ethan exchanged an astonished look, then laughed in disbelief. Ethan said, "All right then, bring the meat, but also some bread, salad, and water." Soon, steaming dishes arrived. They ate with joy, but the stew lacked salt. Ethan called out, "Friend, bring some salt too." After finishing their meal, David confidently placed 1 coin on the table. But the innkeeper shook his head with a grin. "No, gentlemen, that will be 5 coins." "5?" David gasped. "We only ate 1 meal worth 1 coin." The innkeeper chuckled. 1 coin for the meat, 1 for the bread, 1 for the water, 1 for the salad, and 1 coin for the very seat you sat on. The 2 friends stared at each other stunned. Then they laughed bitterly and said, "Indeed, this truly is the City of One Price." They paid and left. Not long after, they found a wealthy merchant looking for workers. They eagerly offered their services. David was hired as a gardener. Ethan was given the backbreaking task of breaking stones. Though Ethan's work was harder, he thought, at least I'll be paid more. David, meanwhile, worried that light gardening might bring him little reward. A month passed. Finally, the merchant paid them. To their shock, he handed both equal wages. Fury blazed in Ethan's eyes. "This isn't fair. I risked my life under the sun, breaking rocks, while David watered plants in the shade. Why should I be paid the same?" The merchant shrugged with a smirk. "This is the City of One Price. That's how it works." Ethan's patience snapped. He stormed out, declaring, "I can't live in such madness. I'm going back home." David, however, stayed behind. Perhaps fate will smile on me yet, he thought. Time passed peacefully until one day chaos erupted in the royal court. 4 bandits had tried to rob a rich man's house at night, but while climbing the wall, it collapsed. 1 bandit was crushed to death, the other 3 captured. They stood before King Alden crying, "Your Majesty, we were only robbing as usual, but because of this man's weak wall, our companion died. Give us justice." In this strange city, the robbery itself was ignored. Instead, the king roared, "Bring me the house owner at once." The terrified man was dragged in. Without a trial, the king thundered, "Because of your wall, a poor bandit lost his life. You shall be hanged." The man begged desperately, "But sire, it wasn't my fault. Blame the mason who built the wall." The mason was summoned. The king barked, "Why did you build such a weak wall? A man is dead because of you." The mason pleaded, "Majesty, I am a skilled craftsman. I laid the stones well, but the laborer who mixed the mortar ruined it. Punish him, not me." The laborer was hauled in. Trembling, he cried, "Your Majesty, I was mixing the mortar when a dazzling young woman passed by, adorned with jewels. My eyes lingered, my heart envied her wealth. Lost in thought, I neglected my work. That's why the wall fell. It was my mistake." The king's eyes narrowed. So it was the woman's fault. "Bring her here." Soon, the jeweled lady stood before the throne. She stammered, "Your Majesty, how am I guilty? I was only wearing what I bought." The king shouted, "Then blame lies with the goldsmith who made such tempting jewels. Fetch him." The goldsmith was dragged in. Without hearing his pleas, the king declared, "You are the true criminal. Had you made plain ornaments, the woman would not have worn them. The laborer would not have been distracted, the wall would not have fallen, and the bandit would still be alive. Guards, hang the goldsmith." The next day, the entire city gathered to witness the execution. The goldsmith was placed on the gallows. The noose tightened. The crowd held its breath. But fate intervened. The rope slipped, and the goldsmith survived. The king laughed coldly. "Never mind. My command is simple. Someone must hang. If not the goldsmith, then whoever's neck fits this noose perfectly shall die." Soldiers searched the city, measuring necks. Days passed, but no one matched, until news came of a strong gardener with a thick neck. They dragged him before the king. To his horror, it was none other than David. "Your Majesty," David cried, "I've committed no crime." The king smiled cruelly. "Crime? None at all. But the law is the law. The noose must claim a life. And today, it is yours." David screamed, begged, pleaded, but the verdict was final. The rope tightened and his life was snuffed out. The crowd roared, "Long live the king! Justice has been served." The bandits danced with joy. The king returned to his throne, satisfied. Months later, Ethan returned to the city, searching for his friend. He asked everywhere, "Have you seen a man named David? He worked here as a gardener." People lowered their voices in fear. "Fool! David was hanged long ago. If the king hears you were his friend, you'll be next." Ethan's legs gave way. With a broken voice, he asked, "But what crime did my friend commit?" A man sneered and replied, "His crime? He killed a poor bandit by letting that wall fall. The king gave justice, and David paid the price." Ethan's eyes filled with tears. He fled the city, running until he reached his village. When he told the tale, the people shook their heads and said only one thing. It was David's fault. Why go there at all? And if he did, why kill a bandit? And so David was gone. Not only dead, but condemned as guilty in a world where true guilt was never questioned. The lesson. This may sound like a fable, but hidden within is a brutal truth. A system where justice has no meaning, where power twists right into wrong, where victims are punished and oppressors celebrate. In our world today, the same happens. Courts drag the innocent for years while the guilty walk free. Leaders disguise tyranny as justice, and the people themselves are to blame for choosing corrupt rulers again and again. Remember, wisdom lies with the elders. Their warnings come from seas of experience. Ignore them, and you may meet the fate of David. Because sometimes, what knowledge and strength cannot teach, experience can. And experience belongs to those who came before us. If you like this story, don't forget to subscribe, share, and let us know in the comments what you think of today's system of justice.